It brings humility and humbleness in you, especially if you're a shepherd of sheep, because sheep are considered not so valuable compared to camels. They're not considered as valuable as camels. So camels were the greatest assets amongst livestock in Arabia, but he was a shepherd of sheep. So this brings humility and humbleness. Another thing is that a shepherd takes care of his flock. He ensures that none of it gets lost, none of them sway from the crowd, from the herd. And similarly, Prophet Muhammad was to be a prophet of God, so he was getting training from God on how to take care of his flock, how to take care of his herd. So this is one of the wisdoms of God in making prophets shepherds earlier in their lives, and many of the prophets of God were shepherds. So this is a wisdom of God. So he worked as a shepherd and later as an apprentice trader for his uncle. As he grew, Muhammad gained a reputation for thoughtfulness and integrity. People nicknamed him As-Sadiq and Al-Amin. These were titles that he was given even before his prophethood. At the age of 40, he was given these titles of As-Sadiq and Al-Amin. As-Sadiq means truthfulness, Al-Amin means trustworthy, because he was so thoughtful and he was a person of integrity. He was very, very honest in his dealings. So he was given these titles from an early age, and he wasn't involved in some of the practices that the pagans were involved in. He never worshipped any idol in his life. He never committed fornication. He never consumed alcohol or any of the things that were later prohibited in Islam. He stayed away from these things from a very early age. So he was a man of integrity, thoughtfulness, and a man of great character. He never cheated anybody. So he was frequently even invited to mediate between different groups of Makkah when they fell into disputes. And it was at the age of 25 that Khadija, a 40-year-old widow, had proposed to the Prophet Muhammad, because she was a female who conducted business, but she needed a trustworthy person who can conduct the business on her behalf. And she found the Prophet Muhammad to be extremely trustworthy, to the extent that she proposed marriage to him. So the Prophet Muhammad got married at the age of 25 to a 40-year-old woman, and all of the kids that Prophet Muhammad had were with Khadija. So this was due to his integrity, his character, that he was proposed to by Khadija. He received his first revelation at the age of 40, and 40 was an ideal age, and Islamic texts always say that most prophets receive prophethood at the age of 40 and onwards, because it's at that age when a person really has the experience and the wisdom that is required to be a prophet of God. So 40 is a good age. I mean, I don't know if 40 is youth. Youth comes till 40 in Arabian history. They say youth is till the age of 40. I don't know if today you can consider the age of 40 a youthful age, because I don't know, times have changed, challenges have changed, people eat differently, they don't eat like they used to eat before, and maybe today 40 people are, they've lost all the hair on their head and on their heads, and they're not up for the task at the age of 40. They've kind of passed on life now. But at the age of 40, it was considered a good age at that time. It was considered the right age. Muslims believe that the only prophets that received prophethood before 40 was Jesus, because Jesus was raised, according to Islamic belief, raised to the heavens in his 30s, early 30s. So Jesus was one prophet who received prophethood before 40, and another one was John. In the Islamic faith, John was considered a prophet of God, the son of Zechariah, and he received prophethood at an early age. So the first revelation at the age of 40 was in solitude at the cave of Hira. Prophet Muhammad was visiting this cave of Hira, and he was meditating, because he wanted to distance himself from the idol worshipping, and distance himself from the town, the life of the town. So he would go to the cave and he would just meditate, and for 6 months he would see good dreams. It was upon the 6th month, in the month of Ramadan, that Prophet Muhammad received the first revelation of the Quran, and Angel Gabriel came to him and he said to him, recite. So he said, I am not a reciter. He said to him, recite. And he said, I am not a reciter. Then he says to him, recite once more. And he said, I'm not a reciter. He squeezed him at each time, Gabriel. And then he said to him, recite in the name of your Lord who created man from a clot of blood. As I mentioned earlier, the first verses of the Quran, the first revelation. He came home shocked, extremely shocked and scared, shivering. And he said to his wife, clothe me and shroud me, cover me up, because he was chilly. And this is why later in the Quran, when God refers to him as the one who shrouded himself, it was due to this occasion. And this is why the Prophet Muhammad had such love for his wife Khadija, because Khadija comforted him. Khadija didn't say, you're insane, you're a madman, you're talking nonsense, or you're talking something that doesn't make any sense or logic to me. Khadija trusted her husband. She had trust in him because he was truthful and he was a person of integrity. So he had much love for Khadija. And that's why even after Khadija's death, he would send gifts to the family of Khadija. He maintained ties with Khadija, his wife. Khadija, upon this incident, Khadija took him to her cousin. His name was Waraqa. And Waraqa was a person who had some knowledge of scripture. When Waraqa asked him about the incident, Waraqa said to him that, Muhammad, you are a man. Actually, Khadija comforted him initially and said to him, Muhammad, you are a man who helps the poor and the weak. You are the one who holds the burden of the poor. You are the one who hosts the guests and the travelers. And you are a man of integrity. God is not going to waste your efforts. God will not disgrace you. So this incident is a good sign for you. And it's interesting to note here, she says God will not disgrace you, because the pagans believed in God, but they attributed partners to Him. So they believed in God, but they attributed partners to Him, and that was the polytheism is what the Quran was addressing at the beginning, initially, when God was mentioning verses related to His oneness. So God was addressing polytheism at the time. So Prophet Muhammad went to Waraqa, and Waraqa said to him that this being that came to you and told you to recite is Gabriel, and he came to the prophets before you. And he says to him that you will face many challenges like the prophets before you faced. And if I am alive, then I will help you. I will defend you. But Waraqa had passed away later on. So the Prophet Muhammad received this first revelation of the Quran. Then, after the first revelation, there was a pause in the revelation. And the Prophet Muhammad would go out and he would look and he would search. Because an incident like this happens to you, and then you're waiting for the next incident to occur. After 2 or 3 years, the next revelation was revealed to the Prophet Muhammad, and this is when he was instructed to invite the people and call them and inform them that he is a messenger sent from God. And when he informed the people, then as all prophets faced initially at the beginning, there was rejection. And the poor and the weak are the ones who believe in you first. And this is what Noah faced. This is what other prophets of God faced. Likewise, the Prophet Muhammad faced the same rejection from his people. So much so that it led to torture and persecution. So much so that it led to boycotts. The Muslim community was boycotted for 2 or 3 years within their own city, the city that they loved, the city that they were born in, the city that belonged to their forefathers. So they were boycotted in such a way that nobody was allowed to trade with them, nobody was allowed to marry with them, nobody was allowed to communicate with them. So they were boycotted in one certain valley called the Valley of Abu Talib. And it was upon the completion of this boycott in the 10th year of his prophethood that he lost 2 very dear friends of his. One of them was his uncle who raised him, and his uncle didn't accept Islam. He supported him, he protected him, but he was too afraid to go against the religion of his forefathers out of fear of physical pain and torture.